Good afternoon, everybody. It's Melissa Thomas of Florida National News coming to you guys, as always, on a Thursday at 1 p.m. with the FNN Politics and Power series. Thank you guys for tuning in. And today we're going to be interviewing Orange County Commissioner Emily Bonilla of District 5, who's also currently running for reelection. So we'll get into all the reelection talk as usual. But for now, I'm going to do a quick bio for you guys. For those who may still be kind of new to who Commissioner Emily Bonilla is and want to learn a little bit more about her. Here's a little tidbit for you guys. She actually kind of ran the Central Florida College Circuit. She attended three of the colleges within her district. She attended Valencia Community College, got an associate's in film technology back in 2001, went on to UCF to do a bachelor's in English, or specifically the creative writing degree in '03. And she went to my alma mater, Full Sail University, for her master's in internet marketing. So shout out to Full Sail University, and of course, Go Knights. Would be remiss without saying that. So, congrats to Commissioner Bonilla for that. She has been involved in her community locally as a wife and a mom. She was a legislative chair at Corner Lakes Middle School, the PTSA there. She's a member of the League of Women Voters in Orange County, so very involved in the political community here locally. She's a member of the Sierra Club, and she ran her own company as a digital media marketing specialist and business consultant because, of course, it is always important to make use of your degree when you get it, especially since those degrees are not cheap, especially if you are like me or Commissioner Bonilla and went to Full Sail. Again, shout out to Full Sail, but it's a pretty penny to go to that school. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to bring in Commissioner Bonilla. Welcome, Commissioner. How's it going?
Hi, it's going great. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate having you on.
Well, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I start off with all of our interviews so far with the question about, how you and your family have been holding up during the pandemic. Like, how are you guys safe and healthy? Is everybody okay? Like, how are you doing personally? Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, we're doing great. So you've heard some of my background. I had a business consulting also women who worked from home. So I worked with women all around the world virtually. So this is not new to me. This is something I was used to. The kids, they were out of school, home a lot, so they got to play a lot of video games. So they're having a lot of fun with it. But we're doing really good.
Awesome. That's good to know. So I mean, on that note, give us your thoughts on what are your thoughts on how Florida has reopened so far, the different phases, and what are your thoughts now that the cases are increasing again after we've reopened?
Yeah, I really believe that everyone really did try their hardest. I don't think that there were any intentions or anything. They really tried to do it in the best way possible. And I'm talking about our governor and our county mayor, listening to advisors, the business industry. But the reality is this is a pandemic of a coronavirus that is still very um, not misunderstood, but we don't understand a lot about it yet. So we're still learning a lot about it as time continues moving forward. We keep doing, the medical industry continues doing studies on it.
Mhm.
So there's a lot that's unknown, and so I feel that brings in a lot of complications that you really can't plan for it. And on top of that, we're all humans. Some of us are more stubborn than others, so we're not really following the guidelines. And when you're not following the guidelines, it puts everyone else at risk. And so that's something else that we're seeing, which is contributing to the increase in cases as well. I try to go out, I'm stuck a lot in my house too. I want to go out and our Friday nights, with my family, we used to go out for dinner and maybe go see a movie. We can't do that anymore. And we were excited. Maybe the restaurant's opening up. We wanted to go out for dinner. We stopped short of going into restaurants because we saw people who are not wearing their masks, not practicing the social
Mm.
distancing. So, I saw that it wasn't happening the way it should have been happening. And it's very hard in restaurants and bars to follow the wearing the mask guidelines because you can't eat and drink while you're wearing a mask. So it really makes a lot of sense. And some of these things we could have seen happening, especially with the restaurants and bars, of being inside the building, that it will increase the chances of the risk of spread.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, even beforehand, like me and my husband will talk about it, and we're like, we will go to a restaurant only if they have outside seating, if they're all practicing the wearing the mask and they're practicing social distancing. So if we don't see those things, we won't go into the restaurant. And like I said, there were restaurants we turned away from because they weren't doing that.
Got you. Got you. And then right before we go to our first commercial break, I did want to ask you, given your background, what first got you started in politics in the first place, coming from such a creative background in the arts? Like, what caused the sharp turn?
It really was unexpected. I'll really tell you that. It was not something I saw coming. And I'm from Massachusetts. We don't have county government really in Massachusetts. So I didn't even understand when I moved here what a county government was.
Mhm.
And I've been here now 22 years. But in 2013, so I lived in a subdivision here in the East Side, and it's in a rural area. So it's a rural settlement. And they wanted to build 4,000 homes and 4,000 acres bordering the subdivision that I lived in. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to escape the city, and the city just keeps following me. And so I went to the community meeting to speak up against it. There was 300 people there, which is the most I've ever seen at a community meeting for a development. And so I talked to some people, some neighbors, and I said, we need to start an organization. We should call it Save East Orlando, because my experience was in marketing. So I'm like, we
Mhm.
got to market this, brand this. And so I was, all on top of that. So it gained a lot of media attention, and because I was working on the Facebook page, getting everything up there. At the time, it got the most Facebook page likes in a short amount of time than other pages had around, in the area at that time. So, again, I had that experience. So all the experience that I've had, even though I was in a different, like you said, creative environment, I was able to use all of that in my advocating against this development. So my past experience may seem different, but something I've definitely been able to use. Even as in my position as a county commissioner now as well, with all the communication I send out to constituents, making sure that they're updated and everything. So anyways, back to, the
Mhm.
story in 2013. So with all that efforts that, I was able to put into it, got the neighbors together, they were putting efforts into it. We collected 10,000 petition signatures.
Wow.
Really thought our commissioner was going to listen to us. I mean, why not? When you have all these people against something. But he wasn't listening to us. And then I started learning about how connected like all our local elected officials were to developers and lobbyists. It just really started getting really disappointing. And so when he didn't listen to us, one of the sections of that big development, because there's a north and south, got approved by the commissioners, by the majority of them. And elections came, and I decided, you know what? This guy needs to go. And I was waiting for someone to jump into the race that I could support and I could stand behind and help. But the people who entered the race, I felt that they would also sell out. So what I did was, just like the politicians that, were already there and voting for this. So I talked to my husband. I was like, look, I can't support anyone who's running. I'm feeling like I should jump in, but I'm not going to do this without you. What do you think? And so he took some time to think about it, because I didn't want to do it if he wasn't 100% on board with me. And so he came back, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So he became my campaign manager, and we both put 110% into it, ran the campaign against all odds. Like even before the primary, we really had no support from a lot of the people who, we asked for help. A lot of people were like, well, you have no chance. But, we went for it anyway. And And I remember we were at one of the polls, and it was the day of the election. We were there till the last minute, till the polls closed, and we looked at each other, and he's like, "So, how do you feel?" And I said, "You know what? We put all of our efforts into this. If we lose, I feel good because we did everything we could." And then we're driving to the the party, and that's when I learned that we may have won. It wasn't closed yet, but here's Orlando Sentinel trying to get a quote from me. I'm like, I'm not giving any quote until I know for sure. We have all the votes in, because I just couldn't believe it.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah,
Awesome.
that's how I got into it. I just jumped in. Really didn't see myself doing that. Was even questioning whether I was qualified for doing something like that, which women do. We always, are we good enough? Are we qualified enough? Men are different. They just jump right in whether they're qualified or not. And I just ask, to inspire the woman out there, just, you are good enough. Jump in and do it. You don't have to wait until someone tells you that you're ready. You have to know for yourself and have that confidence in yourself to just do it.
Awesome. That was the first gem of the interview, y'all. So, um, perfect place to jump in and take a quick commercial break, guys. We're going to be right back. So, stay tuned. We're going to get into more of the nitty gritty of the politics of it all. So, stay tuned. We'll be back.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. We are here with Commissioner Emily Bonilla. And Commissioner, of course, we want to talk about, just getting right into the direct question that everyone would ask you, which is like, why should folks reelect you as District 5 Commissioner in this race?
Well, in my first term already, I've had a lot of accomplishments, and I'd like to just go over a couple of them
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
So
please.
one of them, thank you. So one of them was that before I got elected, they would look at the development plan first before looking at what the wetlands are in the area. And so environment is my big, one of my big issues, protecting the environment and our wildlife corridors. So I kept continuing to vote no on development and questioning why they were filling in wetlands rather than going around them. So because of me pushing, we started changing that process in the county. So now we look at where the wetlands are and ask developers to build around them rather than filling them in, which benefits our environment, our wildlife corridors, and also helps us with filtering our, that runoff before it gets into our bodies of water and pollutes them. Another one is children's services. So as a child who grew up in poverty, in a neglected and abused, it was really important to me to make sure that the next generation of children growing up like me, who I didn't have anyone to help me except for those services that were out there, and some mentors in my school. So that was really important to me to make sure that those services were there for other children who are growing up like I did. And so I asked the county to increase funding for children's services. And because of that, we got $20 million into our budget in addition for children's services annually. Not just one time, it's annually, which is really great. And with this COVID-19 pandemic, so I advocate for counties with the Florida Association of Counties and the National Association of Counties. And both of them advocate on the state level and the federal level to make sure that we are not preempted from being able to do our jobs as county commissioners so that we could better serve our constituents. So I advocate a lot with them and I'm very involved. And out of that advocacy with the National Association of Counties, I was able to get $243 million of COVID-19 relief funds to Orange County, which we're using those funds right now to help with the small business grants and individual financial assistance.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's actually one of the questions I wanted to to talk to you about in terms of getting your thoughts on the rollout of that. Given the amount of people that have applied, the amount of times that they had to take the system down. Just kind of what have your thoughts been on the rollout of that program?
Well, my thoughts on that are, well, one, it's great, working with county commissioners across the nation to be able to get us that funding and working with National Association of Counties. However, when we finally got the money here, it wasn't all just my decision what to do with this money. It's the
Right.
board decision. I sit on a board of 7 people.
Right.
So I shared my thoughts and how we should disperse this money. Some of my ideas were taken into consideration, were used. Like I really pushed for the rental assistance and the individual financial assistance. Some ideas were not taken. So like one of the ideas that I had was that if we're doing the financial individual assistance, if people are already receiving unemployment, there are a lot of people who could not sign up for unemployment and who got nothing. So I said, if you got unemployment, then let's give the people who didn't a chance to get that money with the county.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen because, we don't have the capacity to be able to go through all of that paperwork. But one of my ideas also was, well, let's use some of that money that we're getting to hire people to help go through those documentations, which would also create jobs for people who are unemployed right now. So that would have 2 benefits, right? Other counties did use that idea. Orange County, though, decided not to. Another one was with the small businesses. The majority of the board and the mayor decided to give $10,000 to every business who applied. Not even the federal government is doing that. They are tiering the amount of money based on how many employees. And so I brought up that idea too, which again, other counties in Florida are doing that tiered system. We decided not to, again, because of capacity. So a person who may have 3 employees is getting $10,000. A person who may have 25 employees is getting $10,000. It doesn't seem fair or equitable to me to do that. And we'd be able to help more people, more small businesses, if we were able to do it on the tiered system, because then we could spread out the money more. So those were some of my concerns with how the money was being dispersed. But I will say that there is some confusion about the system itself. So the way the system staff and the mayor decided to do it was to do, you get up to, I believe it's 2,000 applications a day. So that because of the capacity. But again, I did say, let's use some of this money to hire people, so that we could cover that capacity and at the same time create jobs. But that, again, the idea wasn't taken. So because of the lack of capacity, because, we didn't hire more people, was that they would limit it to 2,000 applications a day. And so they're closing it once they meet that. And so that's why the system, it seems like it's shutting down, but it's really, they're closing it,
taking it
to prevent more applications from coming in.
Got you. And I mean, thanks for sharing your involvement in that process. And I mean, have you heard from some of your constituents who've been beneficiaries of this, like people who have successfully applied and gotten some of the funding? Have you heard from anyone who's been able to share a personal story with you?
I wish people would share stories with me when they were happy, but they don't. They contact me saying, help, I need the money. And then they get it, and then I don't hear from them again.
Gotcha.
So I'd have to chase down those people again to see how how they're doing, and
Got you. And just to jump back a little bit to the career you had in digital marketing and the way you were able to leverage it to, like, in your political, at least when you campaigned the first time. But are you still juggling both, or are you 100% full-time commissioner right now?
So I was doing business consulting before I was elected, and I decided to stop doing that so that I wouldn't have any conflicts of interest, because I felt that with my business consulting, I was consulting many different companies. And if there was anything that came to the board with any of those industries or even with those businesses wanting something, I felt that they would, not that it would, change the way I would vote, because I always vote like with a fair hearing, everyone gets a fair shake.
Mhm.
But to not have that appearance of a conflict of interest, I decided to, and also, so I wouldn't have to keep taking myself out of the vote, because if you do have a direct conflict of interest, then you can't vote on it. So to prevent them from happening, I stopped doing business consulting as soon as I was elected. So I don't do that anymore. So I do full-time, 100%, just doing county commission work.
Got you. And I want to make sure that we don't skim over that very important detail you shared earlier about your background, like coming up, and the fact that you were very reliant on the sort of the public services that were available to you. Obviously, according to the bio, you're from New York as well. I'm from there as well. I wasn't born there, but I was raised there. I was raised in Brooklyn. But like, talk to our audience a little bit about that experience you had and why that is such a sharp source of fuel for you in the work that you do.
Yeah, so I was born in New York. When I was going into second grade was when we moved to Massachusetts. And it was mostly living in Massachusetts where, a lot of the children's services came into play in my life, because we didn't really have a lot of family around. Most of my family was, and it still are, in New York. Sorry. So yeah, we were raised in poverty, and I had, so with my friends in the neighborhood, we would go to like the YMCA to use some of their activities there and do things there. The 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 boys club, we would go there as well. And in school we had a big brother big sister program, which was really great because I was the oldest, so it was really nice to have a big sister. And also when I was younger too, there would be this church bus that would come around on Sundays and pick up all the kids in the neighborhood and take us to this church in the woods. And I know that sounds scary. I always say that. But it was safe. There was a real church, and they would give us Sunday, children's Sunday Bible school. And I learned a lot about the Bible from there in that way, and a lot of the morals, that was instilled in me, and values. I also had my grandfather's very, it was a very, I'll just say, complex relationship. I was not happy with a lot of the things he was doing in his life, but with me, he was very loving, always told me I could do whatever I wanted when I grew up. And, always talked about how smart I was. I could do whatever I wanted. So, he was the only one in my family who would talk to me that way and was there for me. So I think by having that one person in my life, and then having all the children's services there that really supported me and got me out of the house and, into a safer environment, that was very helpful to me. And then I had teachers who really looked out for me too, in middle school and in high school, who made sure that they saw potential in me, that I was smart. I was an honor roll student, and they made sure that as I progressed in school, that I was on the right path, getting into the right classes, and it was on the path to college. So all that together was very helpful to get me to where I am now, I feel, in my life.
And in Orange County, is that an area of opportunity in Orange County? Do you feel that there could be some improvements there in terms of creating programs for that for Orange County students?
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, the amount of children's services in Orange County is really lacking. It's the way we look, it's very different here than it was in Massachusetts too. So in Massachusetts, like I said, we didn't have county government, right? We had, the whole state was separated into municipalities or cities or towns, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you had a smaller space that was managed by a local government, and mm-hmm. they were able to provide the services in a compact way to mm-hmm. serve everyone there. Here in Orange County, we're so spread out and so big. We're almost the size of Massachusetts, just the county, the
Wow.
whole state of Massachusetts. So, I mean, so if you take that comparison, it's trying to serve everyone with equity the same way across the entire county is really difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of room for improvement to get there. But you have to have the political will.
Mm-hmm.
And let me say that getting that funding for children's services was a year battle because there was no political will for it. And I had to be
Mm.
extremely strategic and extremely strategic to make it happen. But I made it happen. It happened. And so I was very excited about that. But it was not an easy feat to make happen. So you first have to have that political will. And then the second thing is you have to have people who know how to get the services out there and how to implement them. And unfortunately, if the way everything did happen, we got a consultant that did not go through the RFP, through the process of procurement. The mayor chose who the consultant was. So we didn't really have the opportunity to look at different consulting companies to see who's the best person, for the job. And then the person who we chose decided to focus on only 19 zip codes within the district to place all the
Interesting.
funding and money and services. Mind you, we have this huge district with children all around the district. We don't have all of our children living in one section of the county. Sorry, I meant count. We have this large county, and so just to give you some comparison, in my district alone, I have about 12 different zip codes, and the report was only to serve 9 zip codes. And so the report was also skewed to numbers of youth who were arrested. So
Interesting.
yeah, so if you look at where there's a higher density of young males, you're going to have more juvenile arrests. So when you have more people in an area, you're going to, of course, have those numbers higher than if you look in more of our suburban, less dense areas. So that's why the data came out to only those 9 zip codes, because that's where the most density was, the most male youth was. And so, that just makes sense. But we have, young women who are, getting pregnant as teenagers.
Right.
And that's a huge issue, because that alone, if you look at the statistics,
Mm-hmm.
a young female pregnant girl, she can be responsible for 2 generations of poverty just from
Wow.
that one incident in someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge impact on our entire society. So that issue was more widespread in the county, not in just those 9 zip codes.
Right.
So why are we focusing all of our money in just one area instead of making sure we have services across the whole county, helping all of our children? So there was a lot about children's services that we really need to make a lot of improvements in, and I feel we can do it. We have to have the political will to do it.
Got you. And on that note, we're going to take one more quick commercial break, guys. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
All this time we fought side by side. We trained together. We lost together. And now, you're the only one standing in my way. It's been a while, old friend.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for continuing to stick with us. And Commissioner Bonilla, I just wanted to share a couple of comments that are coming in. Some folks are watching the live stream on Facebook, so they wanted to shout you out, say hello. So Angel Perry is one of them. She said hello. We just had her on the show on Tuesday, so that was an exciting interview that we had with her. And then Supervisor Daisy Morales actually shouted you out as well. She was just, saying my commissioner keep East Orange County green. So just wanted to share a couple of comments with you there as these guys continue to watch the show. And thank you all for continuing to watch, to watch the show. And hey, we continue to welcome you guys' comments. Hey, we're in for an hour, so we've got another half hour to go. And definitely wanted to follow up with, with what we left off on before the commercial break, Commissioner. Kind of talk about, you talked a little bit about the opportunities for improvement in Orange County, but during your tenure there, what have you seen as the biggest improvement?
Well, definitely the environment and how we're looking at development since I was elected has definitely changed. So because I've just been a big proponent of making sure that we're looking at all the impacts surrounding the entire development. What's the impact on our environment, the wildlife corridor, we've gotten a lot of flooding issues in my district, especially. So how does it affect the stormwater management, the traffic and transportation? How does it affect that? So I make sure that when a development comes before me, I'm looking at all of that and I'm questioning everything. And so before it used to just be red stamped, every development, no questions asked. Now, after I started doing that and questioning more, the meetings do last longer. But now you see the other commissioners, new commissioners, and because they see me doing that, they came in already having a good example to go by. So they're doing that in their districts as well. So that's something that definitely has changed since I've been in office, because there's no more red stamping of developments.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so making our environment as well wasn't a priority really in the county before I got elected. And now I'm a proud environmentalist sitting on the board. And now everyone wants to be an environmentalist. Even you see the candidates now, they're all saying, oh, I'm all about the environment. Well, you know what? If you have a candidate who's running now and says they are about the environment, they better have some proof, because I have seen some people who just say they are and they're really not. So do your research. Don't just believe what anyone's telling you. And that's definitely something that I've been able to make a priority in the county as well, is protecting our environment now, our wildlife corridors.
And to that point, how do you normally make those things happen? Are you working with state organizations, local organizations? Are they simply coming to speak before the board with their issues and you guys go ahead and vote on that? Like, how do you normally bring forth the results?
Well, definitely the best is to work with the developers, really. Sitting down with them, explaining to them what all the concerns are. Many of them are willing to work with me on those concerns. Not all developers are bad. You have good ones. You do have some bad apples. But for the most part, they do want to create a development that's going to be attractive to their end users, and they're able to sell the end product too. For the most part, they don't want to have people moving in unhappy with the development, and it gives their company a bad name too. I mean, just imagine, ABC Homes. I hope there isn't a company called ABC Homes. I'm just trying to come up with some generic name. You move into an ABC home community and it's really horrible. The word gets out and people aren't going to want to buy from ABC Homes anymore. So good companies know that and want to have a good product, a good community, so that they can continue developing and having people move into their community. And they also want to be able to have a good relationship with the commissioners, because they don't want to continue having their developments turned down if they're not making good product to make our constituents happy. So the first step is trying to work with the developers to try to, well, that idea that is not going to work for this. Let's say someone comes out and like that's not going to work for my district. I'll
Mhm.
tell them why. They could then come back with a better plan, um, that addresses all of those concerns. Do
Mhm.
have some bad apples though that are like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do anyway. I'm going to continue doing what I want to do.
Mhm.
At that point, then if it comes to the board, they haven't addressed any of the issues. I'm going to say, these were the concerns and issues I had. They didn't want to address them. I'm going to make a motion to vote no and deny this. At that point, I really am just one vote on the board, one
Mhm.
out of 7. So there has been times where I haven't gotten a second on that motion to deny. And then another commissioner made the motion to approve it. And then the rest of the board approved it. And unfortunately, in those situations, then I have a community coming in that I'm not happy with, the community isn't happy with. And most of the times when that happens, it's because no one showed up to the BCC meeting from the community. So I don't have any backup. It's just me saying this is bad for my community with not having any evidence or proof of it because the community didn't show up to the BCC. So I really try, this is where, my background comes in, is that I try to put communications out there. I send out emails, I put it on our Facebook page. I try to put it also on the website that I had put up for my district, emilybonilla.com, to let people know. And I tell people, please follow all of this, pay attention to what's going on in your community. I'm trying to put the information out there and show up to the BCC meetings. You have to show up. I can't keep doing this on my own. And I want to fight for you, and I am, but I need your support. I can't do this by myself, because I could say, this is terrible for my community, but if no one shows up, then the rest of the commissioners, they're going to think, if it's so bad for your community, why isn't anyone here?
Mhm.
Why isn't anyone showing up? Um, so that could be a real problem. So yeah, so working with the developers is the first step, like I said,
Mhm.
and I try to have additional community meetings too, if needed, to try to get the developer to the point where he can understand what the community is saying. He or she can understand what the community is saying too. Because I feel like getting both parties together, sometimes they can work things out with my help. I act like the mediator, between the
Mhm.
two. Um, Sometimes, it doesn't work out, and the developer, may not be able to do everything, maybe out of his control, or his or her control. In those situations too, I do make a motion to deny, and I'll explain why too. And I may even sometimes say, the developer did try, but it's just really not right for this area, and the conditions are out of his or her control. I have had it denied by the board saying that as well, but we had like 20 people from the community show up as well.
Mhm.
Just so that, I'm just trying to explain that, show you that when people show up and back me up, that's when things go great. But when I'm there by myself and I don't have the community support, things can go sour. And I don't want to. I know there was one case where I did have the community. I think maybe 5 people showed up, but they lied to the board. The community members, they really didn't want this happening, but the developer did everything right. It wasn't even near the community. It was, isolated far away.
Mhm.
They met all the concerns and conditions that I asked for and the community asked for. So I did vote to approve that. And so it's not always, I'm not going to be able to make everyone happy, but
Mhm.
definitely do not come to the meeting and lie to the Board of County Commissioners, because then you're really putting me into a tough spot too. So, come to the board meetings,
Interesting.
but be honest, and also have your evidence too. Don't just say, I just don't want this in my community. That's that's not a good excuse. You have to come up with some, some good reasons why.
Interesting. Uh, Thank you for sharing that interesting way to phrase it. So given everything you shared in terms of points of improvement and points of vulnerability for Orange County, I did want to ask you, in your campaign for reelection, should you be reelected, have your priorities changed? And if so, what are they now? Like, what do you plan to focus on this go round?
My priorities are still the same.
Okay.
Smart growth, affordable housing, diversifying our economy, protecting the environment, wildlife corridors. So it's still the same, and I'm still going to move forward. And, I'll say I definitely should be reelected not because I'm already doing these things. So, I don't want to. Let me just put it this way. I am really happy to have people who are involved in government and want to run for office.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that. So, if someone wants to run against me, like I talked to one of the opponents, and I said, I'm not here to call you and tell you to drop out or anything like that. I'm just calling to get to know you. So I do try to get to know who my opponents are, ask them why they're running too, because am I doing a job that I could improve on? I want to hear that from my opponents, because if they're running against me or trying to get me out of office because they're not happy with me, then where can I improve? I'm always about improving myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why, I reached out, but I didn't reach out to try to tell them to drop out or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
please, you want to get involved, run for office. I highly encourage that. But I do want to get reelected because I feel like I still have a lot to do. I only get 2 terms. So I'm not going to be there forever. Just one more term.
Mm-hmm.
And all this stuff that I started, it takes a long time for a project to start rolling. So let me give you an example. The SELF program, which is supposed to help give grant funding to low to middle income level individuals for energy efficiency for their homes. I started that way back in 2017, just got approved like a meeting or 2 ago. And that's like 3 years later. That's how long sometimes it takes to get things moving, get things approved. Also, some projects that I'm working on just takes years for it to happen, just the process. I would love to be able to see some of those things through. Children's services, I would love to definitely work more on that. And also, it's very important that I started here bringing accountability, transparency, fighting the status quo to Orange County. If I'm not reelected, what does that say to those the powers that be, I'll say, about what the voters care about? So if the voters care about accountability, having transparency, and fighting the status quo that we had that we were not happy with, and you have a good person in there, a good elected officials fighting for those things, and then you take that person out of office, then it makes people question, well, what is important to the voters? So if the voters find that important, then I ask you to vote for me, because that's what I've been fighting for. And let's keep that up. Let's keep it going, because we want to send a message to the powers that be, if you want to call them that, that we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it with others who just throw money at people and try to get them to control our government. That's not right, and we're not going to continue letting that happen. And Commissioner Emily Bonilla has been fighting against that, been fighting for the people, and that's what we want. And so we're going to elect her to continue another 4 years, because that's the direction we want to go in. So that's why I want to be reelected.
Gotcha. And to that point, what has been the most common pain point that you've heard from constituents in District 5 between like your current term and, post-pandemic protests? Like, have the pain points changed? And if so, like, what have you heard? What is the most common thing?
Well, we definitely, one thing I learned about being in local government is that you have people who are loud,
Hmm.
doesn't mean that those people who are loud are the majority. So you have to be very careful that, and I'm not saying that, majority of people don't care about Black Lives Matter. I really believe they do.
Hmm.
Um, but even with and I call them wildfires. We have wildfires that happen in my office. The pandemic is one of them. The protests are another. They're just things that come at the office that we have to deal with right now.
Hmm.
But we have those other issues that have been there, like the poverty, children's services, affordable housing, growth management. Those are issues that are constant and ongoing. And we can't ignore those issues because of wildfires. They're still there. They're not loud at the moment,
Hmm.
because there's other loudspeakers who are now taking over the networks, if you want to call it that. And those are important, but we can't forget about the other issues that we have too. So when you talk about pain points, those pain points are still there. And so we have to make sure that those are still addressed, as well as the new one. Well, not that Black Lives Matter is new. I was supporting them since 2016.
Hmm.
And I'll just say that whole situation, I'm very frustrated personally because, I am a minority. I've dealt with racism myself and, in struggles of racism. And, I have a son who I worry about when he's out there driving, being arrested or shot. I worry about those things every day of my life with my family.
Hmm.
I struggled through that too. And so my whole life I've struggled with it. And then, in 2016, when Lives Matter came out, I supported it. And people called me anti-police because I supported it. And now we have all these protests and everything globally. And then we have the police union coming out saying they support it, where before they wouldn't even talk to me as a candidate in 2016 because
Hmm.
I supported it, saying I was anti-police. So the hypocrisy is really frustrating to me. But I will say that we still have to move forward.
Hmm.
At least, it's really, really loud. And let's take that momentum and move it forward. Personally, I haven't spoken out a lot about it because of the frustration, and I don't
Hmm.
want to get in the way of what positive could come out of it and the motivation. So I'm just trying to keep my frustration in and, until I could get that feeling taken care of and resolved in myself, I want to just let the positivity momentum move forward and not get in the way of that.
Gotcha.
But the pain
Now
points,
go
yes.
ahead.
Yeah, I know I
Yeah,
kind
the
of
pain points.
diverted, but you know, they're all there. You know, um, People have many pain points. There are many, and it's very unfortunate. And it definitely keeps my office busy. I'll say that.
For sure. Now we're gonna come back after another quick commercial break because you did touch on like a question I was gonna ask later anyway. So thank you for sharing, for sharing your feedback on that. But guys, continue to stick around. We still have a few minutes, so we're gonna take another quick commercial break and be right back. And this one is literally quick, okay? 15 seconds. We'll be right back.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing: so good. As in quality ingredients used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
Like I said, very quick. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for continuing to watch with us. Continue to stick with us. We are with Orange County Commissioner Emily Bonilla. And Commissioner Bonilla, yeah, you touched on what we were going to get into anyway, which was, your thoughts on George Floyd and the protests and what you've personally experienced. But I did want to ask you what you personally feel some actionable next steps are, like ways for people to take that frustration that they might be feeling and direct it to change that's going to be lasting and positive. So what are your thoughts or ideas on what people can do?
Well, definitely when you're ready to act positively on it, do so. If you're going to protest, be safe. We still have a pandemic that we're dealing with, so make sure you wear a mask, keep your social distance, use hand sanitizer. That's important because we don't want that. We don't want one affecting the other negatively either, the two big issues that we're having. So please keep
Mhm.
yourself safe and healthy. Um, you can do a lot from home as well. We do have social media out there. Just keep positive, and I say positively, the momentum on it moving forward, because we don't want it turning into something ugly and hateful. Or I know Wes Hodge was attacked for saying, breaking glass. I
Mhm.
took that metaphorically. I didn't take it literally.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm frustrated, like if I break glass, it'll be in my own house. But you know, but if you do have to break glass, maybe keep it within your own house. I know you're frustrated. Don't damage other people's properties. Um, but just move forward in a positive way where we can get some action done. Be loud about it too. Don't stay quiet. I mean, don't only, like I said, you have these loud people are being heard. As an elected official, I have to be mindful that, of the people who are not loud, and make sure their needs are being met too, because that's my job. But if you're trying to advocate for something, you need to be loud and you need to push it, because you need to make sure that you're heard. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be heard. So that does bring change. And the global, so support these protests, the global protests. I mean, that was so important and really getting people to wake up. Um, and I just, and like I said, where a lot of the frustration comes from is that I know some of these people who are saying things are not being genuine when they say they now support, Black Lives Matter or whatever. So, I had some people tell me some racist stuff who are, now like, oh yeah, this is important, so I just, personally, like, I'm just really
Mhm.
frustrated. But you know what? I guess peer pressure may help. Does definitely help in schools. We've seen that with bullying and, anti-bullying. We're trying that. Perhaps if we use that at a larger level
Mhm.
globally, that will start changing things. So we just have to keep up that positivity, that momentum, and be involved and vote.
Mhm.
You know, Make sure you vote. That is if you really want to make a difference, the biggest difference you can make with one action of a pen is to vote. And make sure you research every single person on that ballot, because what they're saying campaigning is not always, well, I'm telling you the truth. And I know I'm telling you I'm telling the truth. Don't take my word for it, though. Don't believe me, I'm telling you the truth just because I'm saying I'm telling you the truth, and believe me. Research it. My record speaks for itself. Go research me. Go look at my voting record. Go look at everything. Go look at it. Don't take my word for it. And don't take the word for it of any other candidate either. Research the candidates, because that's very important. You don't want to vote for someone and then regret it later on. So, just do your homework. Take that time. It's time well invested in yourself, well invested in your community, and well invested in our nation. So please vote. Use that stroke of that pen is very important, and it could change the world. Literally. I mean it. So it's very important.
Thank you for sharing that. And to that point, because that almost sounded like a sermon or like a nicely packaged PSA. um, but I did want to ask you, and I usually ask any politics and power person I have on the show, because I like learning how each person thinks and functions and what fuels them as an individual. So I did want to ask you, what do you normally look to as your motivation, your daily motivation, during those times when you're pushing for something and you're not quite getting the result you want, or what have you? What is two or three things that you look to keep you going every single day?
I really feel like it all comes down to just the personality I was born with. I just I'm an INTJ. You want to look up the Myers-Briggs, you can
Hmm.
learn all about me. There's 2% of the population, they say. But I'm very extremely persistent. I, doing what's right is very important to me.
Hmm.
But I'm very intuitive about myself. Um, like I really analyze myself a lot and see where I can improve on
Hmm.
myself and how that benefits the people in the world around me. Because I want to make sure that my life has purpose and I'm having a positive impact on the world around me. But one of the most important things about me is that I'm extremely persistent. I really can't tell you where it comes from. Like that's why I said I was just born this way. I really don't know what pushes me. I just am pushed to just my personality makes me the kind of person where if I see something that's wrong and no one's doing anything to fix it, like I have to jump in and fix it and make sure things are right. And then I don't give up. Like I'll keep going, keep going, keep going until it's taken care of. So a lot of people who's been, politically trying to stop me, push me back, stop me from accomplishing what I'm trying to do. I make them tired. I tire them out because I just keep going. I just keep going like the Energizer Bunny. If anyone remembers what that was, I'm aging myself now. But I'm like the Energizer Bunny that I just keep going and going, and making sure that I reach what I'm trying to accomplish. So that's just what motivates me.
Gotcha. And in your experience now, your first term is starting to wind down, but what do you feel has been the best part about being Commissioner of District 5?
Um, I do like challenges. You have to, in this position, you definitely have to have a thick skin. And I believe my upbringing has
Mhm.
helped me have that tough skin. It also has helped me be a person who knows how to um through challenges be able to succeed and keep going. And I really believe that has also helped me for this position. I mean, as a child, I went through so much that there's nothing you can do to me to hurt me that I didn't already go through as a child. So that's really helped me become a very strong person to be able to do the work that I do. You also have to be very persistent. Like I said, it's a lot of work. It's the work doesn't stop. So you have to be someone who's willing to work hard and keep going. I call myself a workaholic. I really am. I'm not really proud of it, 'cause no, I don't think anyone should really be proud of being a workaholic, to be honest. You have to have that balance in your life, but I do love working, and so you have to love being able to work, and I love solving problems too. Like I said, that's part of my personality. I see something wrong. Um, I'd actually rather relax and help people. I'd rather support people and help people solve
Mhm.
problems. You know, um, but if that's not happening, I will jump in and I will become the leader and I will make sure it happens. So there's those two sides of me, and I'm able to go between either one. Um, and so that's what I really love about it. I love that part. And
Gotcha.
I love helping people too, and seeing I love seeing the results too of all that hard work.
Right, the payoff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the payoff.
gotcha. All right, guys, we're going to take one final commercial break before we wrap up the show with Commissioner Bonilla. So stay tuned. It's going to be a quick one, just like the last one. Stay tuned.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
All right, guys, thank you for continuing to stick with us as we wrap up today's episode of FNN Politics and Power. And Commissioner Bonilla, I definitely wanted to thank you for taking the time to come on our show today. I wanted to allow you this last portion of the show to share anything that you feel that we haven't discussed, but you want to make sure that the audience knows. So go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm speaking as a county commissioner here, please follow my social media, sign up for my email newsletters at emilybonilla.com, and follow the website as well to make sure that you stay involved in your county government and everything that's going on. Now I'm going to switch over to candidate Emily Bonilla. Please vote for me. Vote for Emily.com. You can sign up for my campaign emails as well as follow my Facebook page. Make sure you get involved. If you want to get involved, you can volunteer, make a donation. Either of those you could do for my campaign. I would really appreciate your support and your vote.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And please stick around as I wrap up. I want to make sure to thank you for your time backstage. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for continuing to watch with us here at Florida National News. And as you've heard us talk about all week, and as you've heard our lovely host Jenny Rosario talk about over the course of the last couple of weeks, we here at Florida National News are offering any small businesses that are looking to promote themselves, especially as we transition out of the quarantine, as you know, your various states, no matter where you are, not only in Florida, but wherever you are, is gradually reopening. We're welcoming small businesses to advertise for free on our shows. We have 20 commercial spots open to small businesses who need that promotional opportunity. So be sure to drop us an email at Jennifer.Rosario@FloridaNationalNews.com. Let me bring up the banner so you guys can see it. Be sure to drop your email there. And if you have a ready set video, make sure it is 15 seconds or 30 seconds. We'll be offering those spots to be able to run on our various shows. As for me, you guys will catch me again a little later this afternoon with the evening news rundown, which takes place at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to stick around at Florida National News to be able to catch that. And if you haven't yet, be sure to like us on Facebook. You'll find us at Florida National News, at FNN News TV, at FNN News Live. And in terms of politics stuff, we have a page called FNN Politics and Power. So be sure to like that page as well. And if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. You'll find us there at Florida National News. And be sure to click the little bell icon to make sure you get all of the notifications for all of our shows. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. It is always a pleasure to have you guys tune in with us. Take care. Have a great rest of your afternoon.